This is 1996. This was made. This is like 1996 BC, before CGI. So there's that sense that it's almost like a very traditional film, obviously dealing with a much earlier time. For you, when kind of revisiting it, do you always find yourself analysing it to the point that you wish you could do something different, or do you find yourself embracing that was the moment, that was what we did? That's
with this movie.
Yeah,
I don't look at films that I do again after I've made them. By the time you finish them, we looked at them so many times, and you've seen them with audiences. You kind of get exhausted, so you kind of get repulsed by them in a way, you know. No, seriously, one does, you know. But I mean, this I just came from the Savoy earlier. I saw the first hour of it, and you know, I was talking with Warner Brothers, so I had to look at it again. I was looking at all the material for the Blu-ray. I mean, I'm so glad I didn't have CGI available to me when I made this movie. You know, I think CGI is a kind of a worm. It's kind of it's awful. You know, it's awful. I can't stand seeing these manufactured explosions and I mean, I've used them myself, you know, these crowd multiplication techniques and all that, but it's not photography. The great thing about photography is whatever you do, or what photography used to be, is you are photographing an event. You know, something happens in front of the camera. You know, the light happens, the crowd happens, the emotion happens, the actor happens, he sweats or doesn't, or she does, or whatever. And you know, CGI, it's no longer an event, you know.
Well, it's like early synthesizer in music. It just dates it very quickly.
Yeah, I love early synthesizer music.
Yeah, but in the case of like people like Bowie and Jagger and that, when they embraced it, there's just like a dating kind of system now. That it just feels like
perhaps no, but CGI is. I mean, I you know, come on, you know, I look at. I mean,
now it seems
have Martin Scorsese's movies gotten as like, what was that, The Wolf of Wall Street? I mean, there's an enormous amount of CGI in that, you know, in ways you probably wouldn't see, but as a tool, it is. Has that got the dynamism of Taxi Driver? No, sir. Because you look at every frame of Taxi Driver, you say, wow, that was New York then. My God, driving down a street with those lights flashing on the wet pavement, you know, that kind of thing.
Well, that romanticism, because this...
That's not romanticism, that's realism.
Well, I want to say for romanticism in film, because in the case of that 70s, I mean, there's a romantic kind of notion of American cinema in the 70s was just adored, and rightly so. And there's a realism, you know, with the lights hitting into the lens. There's a kind of, you know, in its own way, a guerrilla filmmaking, but there's an embrace of the beauty of cinema from Coppola and Scorsese and people like that. But there is a sort of romanticism now, looking back at how beautiful these movies are, and how kind of they were, you know, sort of, you know, made in the studio system, but they were very much like an independent kind of film. And I think that of Collins, that it has a place in Ireland especially, but I think on a world stage, that it just was a moment that everything came together. You've got obviously a great cast, you know, Liam Neeson and Alan Rickman, and so many of them are just beautifully placed. I mean, do you find yourself, you know, recognising that this is a special breed, or do you find, well, it's just the same to you as any other film you've made?
Oh, no. This was special because, in a strange way, it was impersonal. You know, I mean, it wasn't as personal as the other movies I've made, like Mona Lisa, The Company of Wolves, The Crying Game, or, you know what I mean, even The Butcher Boy. It was this. I mean, it became a personal obsession, but actually it was about a larger fact. You know, it was about Michael Collins. It was about the War of Independence. You know, it was about issues that were bigger than me. You know, and but it was. I just feel lucky to have made it. You know, at the time when I made it, there was so much controversy around it, and I mean, I had the police had to come out to my house and teach me how to check underneath the cars for explosives and stuff, mad stuff like that.
Yeah.
And but it was. I mean, I'm not talking about that kind of every day I woke up, there'd be things on the radio, and I hadn't even started shooting the film yet. It was like, stop, but nobody would stop. You know what I mean? So I kind of had to just keep the blinkers on and try and make as good a film as I can. But it's. I suppose it was that important because. Whole swathes of Irish history, because of the IRA and because of the awful situation in the north of Ireland, had become dirty secrets, hadn't they, in a way? You know, so I suppose I was brushing away a few cobwebs with this film. You know.
Well, you've said of the film, you said it's a film about violence and its consequences, and that you're kind of thankful that isn't really, you know, kind of, we don't have that same. Back in 1996, that was very kind of relevant to what was going on then, and we're at a better place now. But that idea that you sort of tapped into a kind of, and now with the 1916 celebrations, it's tapped into a deep kind of rooted sense of identity about the Irish, about what we've struggled against and what we feel, many people feel we still struggle towards. I mean, is all that side of it kind of, do you feel the weight of the responsibility of that still, that you kind of represent to a lot of people in the country with a film like this, the aspirations and the idealism of that time, and someone like Collins is like Elvis to many people down the country and around.
Like Elvis.
He is that sort of great figure who had the right idea and just didn't work out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on, early death's a great thing, isn't it? You can mean everything to everybody. Because Collins died young, he becomes this fountainhead of possibilities, doesn't he? What would the country be like if he had survived? His politics were conservative, perhaps even a little bit more conservative than De Valera is. I doubt he would have been as Brit-hating as De Valera, turned out to be at the rest of his life,
Yeah.
He would have come to far more easier accommodations with the British Empire. If Collins had lived, perhaps Ireland wouldn't have been neutral in the Second World War, which I thought perhaps would have been, I do think would have been not a dishonourable thing, But that's the thing with somebody who dies young. What would they have done? And it'll always be a question, and always a possibility,
The very last thing then would be the fact that this was your second studio film after Interview with a Vampire, and you've had this relationship where you've made big Hollywood films, you've made your small personal films, and it's been a few years now. I know the Borgias and Byzantium, you're talking about 3 or 4 years ago. You've got a new book out now, The Drowned Detective. And I'm just wondering, for you, is it all the same, like whether you're writing a book or you're making a film, or you're just kind of in the moment, you're just being yourself? Or whether there is a sort of recognition of need for career management and a sense of I should really do this kind of thing next.
Oh, you mean do I need career management?
Well, I'm just saying,
sure I do.
Do you think about that though? Because you've had a long, beautiful career and you've had a lot of success, but I don't know whether it sort of comes into your mind that I'm Neil Jordan, I need to do this. I should be doing that.
I've never thought that way, but people have told me I should, but I never have. I remember some people saying, "You really should look after your career." I'd say, "What? I'm having fun. I'm doing something interesting." They'd go, "Okay, but." I mean, if I was to have, looked at career management, I would have ended up directing a James Bond movie. I don't want to do that. I'm sorry. I mean, I love them, but I don't want to do it.